So today we are going to start with, last time we were at threshold, today we are going to start with the MOS IV characteristic. So first we'll do some mathematical analysis and then we'll go with some slides. So the topic is MOS IV characteristic. Okay, fine. So we'll go for the NMOS. So this is your MOSFET. This is your P-type substrate, and plus regions are there. Then this is your SiO2 layer. Over to that metal gate. Gate is there. Here metal gate. Here source is there. Here drain is there. So when this Vg is greater than 0, or when this Vg S is greater than Vth voltage, when source is grounded, and let's say drain is also grounded, so what will happen? A channel will be formed at this region. So let's say it is a inversion has happened and the channel has been created, but still there will be no current flowing because the potential difference between the drain and source is 0. There is no potential, no current will flow. So in order to for the flow of current, what will done? We'll apply some potential at the drain end. So if the source is grounded, let's say drain Vd voltage is greater than 0, then what will happen? The charge concentration at the drain end will be less compared to source, and the channel which was a straight line now will tilt towards the drain end. This is your SiO2. This is your gate. So here gate is also the gate voltage also greater than 0 and drain voltage also greater than 0, and then the current conduction will start, electron will flow, and the current movement will be from drain to source. Let's say this is a x length. Let the axis, it is from 0. We start from this source end to the drain end, that is 0 to L, and we have to find what is the current flowing in this channel. So so to start, let's assume now this channel is of some area. So let's assume some QD charge is formed there and which has to move a certain distance, and at one time it will reach some place here. So this amount of QD charge, let's assume that QD is nothing but the charge density along the current direction, and its unit will be coulomb per meter. Okay, so this much is the charge developed across the, this is semiconductor bar. So it is a charge developed and it is moving with, let's say, Vd velocity. Vd is your drift velocity, and this is due to the electric field. So it is moving with the Vd velocity of Vd meter per second. So what will be the total current flowing through this? So the current will be computed at Qd into Vd, and the unit will be your coulomb per second. Okay, so this will be the ID expression for this. If a QD charge is moved with a VD velocity, then after 1 second, after movement of 1 second, the ID will be computed at QD into V. And since it is a electron movement, so QD will be nothing but with a minus charge. So ID will be given as minus QD into ND for the NMOS. Now, so this is the, let's say this is expression number 1. Now we know that onset of inversion, or just the inversion when the channel has been created, it is created only when VGS is equals to VTH. Okay, so we can say that any charge density within the channel, so we can say any inversion charge density, the inversion charge density in the channel will be proportional to what? will be proportional to the voltage excessive to the threshold voltage. So we can say it is proportional nothing to the VGS minus VTH voltage. So we can say the inversion charge, let's say QD, that will be proportional to Vg minus the excessive voltage Vg minus VTH. And since this charge is due to the function of the oxide capacitance, so further I can write this one as a QD equals to Cox. Better to write here. So QD will be Q equals, we know Q equals to CV. Using this principle, we can write QD equals to Cox into VGS minus VTH. And since what is Cox? Cox is the oxide capacitance, which is given by epsilon ox by Tox, and it is per unit area. Per unit area. So to counterbalance, we will multiply with the dimension W. So what the coulomb it will become? It will become coulomb per meter. So this is the QD charge in the channel when the threshold, when the VGS voltage is more than the threshold voltage. So we got this QD expression. Now in this semiconductor, in this channel, so we have computed from 0 to L. This should be the charge. Now if we assume, let's say I have to imagine what is the current at this point. Let's say it is X. So what is the current flowing at this particular length, at this particular X point? So in order to predict that one, what we will do then? If we have to measure the charge at some point X, then we can write this further. This expression we can rewrite as Cox VGS minus VTH minus V of X at certain point in the channel. This much will be charged at that X value. So this is your equation number 2. Fine. So now placing this QD value in the equation 1. So from 1 and 2 we can write 1 and 2 we can write ID equals to minus Cox. Here W is left, sorry. Cox W VGS minus VTH minus V of X into what was the drift velocity Vd. Okay. So now we know what is drift velocity, what is Vd given by. Vd is nothing but mobility into electric field. What is which mobility? Electron movement is there. So we'll write here mu n into E. So we can rewrite this equation as ID equals to minus Cox W VGS minus V of X minus VTH, and it is mu n into E. Fine. Further, we know what is E, electric field. It will give a minus d of Vx by dx. So substitute this E value in the equation. So you will get here ID equals to minus minus will become plus Cox W VGS minus V of X minus VTH mu n dV of X by dx. So we got this ID equation in terms of X. Now we will integrate both the sides. So let's say ID into dx will come here, and at this side it will be Cox W VGS minus V of X minus VTH mu n into dV. Fine. Now when we do integration, we should know what is the limits. So what is the X length? We know that the channel was, it was starting from 0 and it was extending. Here was some X, it was extending till L, the length L. This was your source end and this was your drain end. So the limit of X will be X equals to, X equals to 0 to X equals to the total effective length, that is L. So that time what will be this Vx voltage? V of X will extend from 0 to what is the maximum voltage at the drain end? The drain end voltage will be, it is 0, and here it will be VDS voltage. It is VDS. So now put the limit and do the integration. So it will be ID into x limit 0 to L, and this will be, we'll take out the constant outside the integration part, that is mu n is constant, Cox is constant, W is constant, and we have to do integration of, we will divide this factor, that is VGS minus VTH into dV, and then minus integration of dV 0 to VDS and 0 to VDS. This is length L. So we'll get here ID into L minus 0, that is equals to mu n Cox W. Integration of this is a VGS minus VTH. So we are sweeping across the channel, that is we are varying the voltage of VDS. So VGS is constant here. So this VGS minus VTH is nothing but a constant value, and integration of dV will be V, and the limits we will put here 0 to VDS minus integration of, sorry, here V is left here, V dV. This V comes here. So integration of V dV will be half V square, and the limit will be 0 to VDS. Right. So we can rewrite this equation as ID into L is equals to mu n Cox W, and it will be VGS minus VTH into VDS minus half VDS square. Okay. Then rearranging the terms, ID will be equals to mu n Cox W by L, in the bracket it is VGS minus VTH into VDS minus half VDS square. VDS square. This is equation 3. So this is your ID equation for the N channel MOSFET. So this is your ID equation for the N channel MOSFET. Now what things we can observe from here? If you see this equation, this represents somewhat like a parabolic equation. So if this is your VDS curve and this is your ID, so somewhat like a parabolic equation comes, somewhat like this. It is a parabolic equation. I don't know what will be the maxima or minima, somewhat like this it will be there. So here what is the maximum value? To calculate the maximum value, what we can do, we can do delta ID by delta VDS, and we can check what is the maximum value where the peak should occur. So when we do delta ID by delta VDS, what we'll get here? We'll check for that one. So delta ID by delta VDS will give you, since it is a constant value, so we can rewrite here mu n Cox W by L, in the bracket. This factor will come here, VGS minus VTH. VDS is 1 minus, it will be half into 2 VDS. So we can rewrite this equation as here mu n Cox W by L VGS minus VTH minus VDS. Okay, that is your delta ID by delta VDS. Now equating this partial differential to the zero value, we'll get the maxima value. So what is the maximum value? That when VDS is equals to, equating this one to 0, it will be VDS equals to VGS minus VTH. So this means at this point I will get the maximum peak value. So if it is a parabolic equation, the peak will occur at this point. For this one it will occur at this point. If suppose the magnitude is low, then this will occur at this point. So here for this we can rewrite here. I will redraw this graph once again. This is your ID, this is your VDS, So we got this one. So this is your, let's say it is VGS1 minus VTH. For VGS1 this is there and current flowing is ID1. If we plot this one, we'll get here VGS2 minus VTH. For VGS2 we get this peak. Corresponding current, let's say ID2 is there. Then for this one, let's say it is VGS3 minus VTH and the corresponding current is ID3. So if we plot from here, we'll see a curve like this will come. Okay. So this part and this part, there must be a change in the operation. Okay. So this part is named as your triode region and this part is named as your saturation region. And what is the cutting edge or the cutting voltage where it happens? It happens when my VDS is equals to VGS minus VTH. Fine. So I can say for VDS less than VGS minus VTH, this is the boundary condition, and for VDS greater than VGS minus VTH, let's say equal to also here. So these two regions exist in this graph. So this region is called your triode region. This region is called your saturation region. And for VDS equals to 0 is nothing but your cutoff. No current conduction happens. So this is your output characteristic. So output characteristic is this one. Now what happens in saturation? We'll check for that one. What happens in saturation? So we know this was the ID equation of, sorry, what was ID equation? So ID was given by equation number 3. So we'll write equation number 3, we'll rewrite here. So from 3, ID is equals to mu n Pox W by L VGS minus VTH VDS minus half VDS square. So here we have to check what happens when VDS is greater than or let's say equal to VGS minus VTH. So when this condition exists, my ID is equals to mu n Cox W by L VGS minus VTH and VDS is also VGS minus VTH minus half VGS minus VTH whole square. We can rewrite like this. So from here what we say, this becomes the square form and minus half. So effective ID will be now here half mu n Cox W by L VGS minus VTH whole square. This is equation 4. So what is happening here? My ID is changing to this form, that is VGS minus VTH whole square. In some of the textbook you will see it is also represented by a factor k. It is written half k n, since it is a NMOS, kn into VGS minus VTH square, where kn is a constant which is nothing but mu n Cox W by L. Okay. So what we see here, it becomes a square law device. In the saturation we see the ID generation is depending upon the amount of VGS and it is a depending in a square law form. So that's why some MOSFET is also known as a square law device. It is also renamed as a square law device. And so this is the fourth condition where we got, this is the first condition where we got that ID is proportional to VGS minus VTH whole square. Now the second condition is what, then when VDS is less than VGS minus VTH. So we will check second condition when VDS is less than VGS minus VTH. Let's assume it is very very less than VGS minus VTH. So that time my ID will be as mu n Cox W by L VGS minus VTH into VDS minus half VDS square. Now substitute this one here. So VDS is very very less than VGS minus VTS. This means if I do the product here, this product will overcome this value. So we can rewrite this expression as ID equals to mu n Cox W by L VGS minus VTH into VDS, and this will be neglected because when we multiply, the left hand side will be very very less compared to right hand side. So we get equation number 5. So what we can deduce from equation 4 and 5? So 5 was a square law device. So what we see from 4, now we'll draw the conclusion. We got ID equals to half mu n Cox W by L VGS minus VTH whole square, and from 5 we got ID equals to mu n Cox W by L VGS minus VTH into VDS. So from the fourth equation, we see ID is depending upon VGS minus VTH whole square. Here is no VDS. If you see here, no VDS voltage is here. And here if you see, it is linear function of VDS. So from 4, we can say ID independent of VDS. Okay, so ID is your output current and VDS is your output voltage. So here output current is not the function of output voltage. Means what? If there is change in the output voltage, then also my output current will not be disturbed. So which is the proper, what type of property is showing? It is showing your constant current source. Means it is behaving like a constant current source. So I can say a MOSFET in saturation will be represented by a current source of I value. Okay, this is ID current flowing. So this is the saturation case. And from 5, what we see, from 5 if you see this ID output current, and here is the output voltage. So output current and output voltage are linearly dependent. So here ID is function of VDS. Okay, that too in a single power. So I can say here ID is function of VDS. So ID is linearly dependent on VDS. So it is output current and output voltage. So if we take the ratio of VDS by ID, what we'll get here? VDS by ID will, this factor will come into the denominator part. So I'll get here 1 by mu n Cox W by L into VGS minus VTH. Okay. So what is this one? This is VDS by ID will give me this relation. Now according to Ohm's law, what does Ohm's law states? That resistance, the proportionally, that V is proportional to I, and this proportionality constant is R, which will equals to V by I. So here this VDS by ID is nothing but your RDS, or we can say R on resistance. Okay, which is given by equation 6. And this R on resistance is function when it is a linear function, linear in the linear region, and that helps in charging discharging of the So message came what? Okay, nothing is there. Fine. So this is RDS is nothing but the resistance. So what we from here, what the conclusion can be drawn? If this is the graph of VDS, and if this is ID, so when we start from 0, so initially if this is the point of VGS minus VTH, okay, so what happens if this is the boundary below this and after this? So it was a parabolic equation, so it was going somewhat like this, and after this what was happening we were not knowing. So in this region it is behaving like a register. Since it is behaving like a register, we say it is a ohmic region. Another name is triode region. Okay, and after this VGS minus VTH, when it is crossed, so what happens? We enter into the saturation. A constant current comes. Constant current means a constant value of the current should be there. Irrespective of change in the VDS, the ID should not change. So this is the output characteristic of my MOSFET, and this region is called your saturation region, and this is somewhat some VGS value at some VGS, at the rate of some VGS. Then changing the magnitude of VGS, this curve can be moved down or up. So this is your output characteristic of the MOSFET, where below VGS minus VTH is your triode region, and above to that is your saturation region. Now if I say you think about in your digital circuits, we are bothered, what about, we are not bothered about the amplification, but we are bothered about the switching. So switching means how fastly my device turn off, how fastly it is switching to logic 1 or logic 0. Now switching, when the words come switching, what does it comes to the mind? The switching means charging and discharging, and when it is a charging and discharging case, the MOSFET has some parasitic capacitances which helps in estimating the time constant, and the time constant will be, since we know in this region it will behave like a register and there are some parasitics, so we can easily compute what is the delay when the MOSFET is turned off, or what is the delay, how much is the time consumed when the MOSFET is turned off, because we can now estimate the RC delay. Okay. So this was your MOSFET IV characteristic. Now in this IV characteristic, there is one more parameter which is known as your channel length modulation. Okay, channel length modulation means when the effective channel L is less than the channel provided. That happens when pinch off occurs. So for that we'll go for some pictorial representation that will give you much clear idea. So till here any question is there, then you can ask. Otherwise we'll move to the slides. Nothing is there. So 1 minute, slides are there. Let me open the slides. Okay, the slides, I don't know where. Okay, let me discuss here itself. The channel length modulation. So what happens actually, this is the MOSFET, N plus, and this is your gate, drain greater than 0, gate greater than 0, source is grounded, and this is the point. So here what happens, previously there was a channel like this, then slowly the drain voltage increased. So what happened, the channel moved to the channel region moved to here at this level, and at this level the pinch off things apart. This means when the channel touches the drain end, we say this is a pinch off region. Pinch off region. That is, at this point my VDS is equals to VGS minus VTH. And when we what happens VGS minus VTH? So in the graph, initially the current was flowing like this. At this point it is VGS minus VTH, but this VDS is further increasing, and this further increasing we are saying this is becoming constant. So in actual what happens when VDS is further increased, this channel, the pinch off point, what happened to the pinch off point? Instead of this one, this is moving somewhere, it moves to at this place. Okay, it leaves the drain end and it reaches to the, it moves toward the source, and at the same time the depletion region will increase at this place. So when it is moving at this place, so what is happening? Initially this was my channel length which was conducting, but due to excessive voltage at that drain end, the channel moved towards the source, and my channel conduction becomes, let's say it is L dash. Okay, it left some place. So what happens here? So when the channel has left this place, then it means that no current should flow, because drain to source there is no path. But then also there will be some current. This is because the presence of high electric field. The electron jumps due to very high electric field. Okay. So that's why there will be current. However, the ratio, the current will not be a constant value. Well, it will have some slope. And what is that slope? That we will see now. Okay, it will have some slope. So we know this point is nothing but your saturation point. So I will write here ID equals to half mu n Cox W by L VGS minus VTH whole square. Okay. So now due to this excessive voltage at the drain end, my channel has moved, and that time the effective length becomes L dash. So what I will write here, now my new ID dash will be half mu n Cox W by L dash into VGS minus VTH whole square. Now what is this L dash? L dash we can write here, what is, okay, L dash is there. One minute. I'm getting here one point. So what will be delta L? The deviation will be the complete length minus the effective length. So we can write here this one as, we got 1 minute. IVLSI lecture 3. Okay, we got the slide. We'll see there. Time is not. So you can write here half mu Cox W by, let me check for L dash. Okay, so we were at this expression. Okay, and this is the L dash region where the channel moved due to excessive voltage, and pinch off point moves from the drain end to the somewhere at L dash point. So okay, so how they are written, we know L dash is L minus L dash. So we can rewrite this expression as, okay, here only we'll see. So this is L dash. So what is L dash? L dash can be written, this is the expression with respect to the new length. Now taking L dash common, we can rewrite this expression as 1 minus delta L by L. Fine. L minus L dash by L. And actually it is multiplying numerator and denominator both sides by L. Then we'll get this type of expression. Now since we know that this L dash, it came into the picture due to the VDS value. It is a function of VDS. So delta L by L is replaced by a factor called lambda VDS, where this lambda VDS will be very, very less than 1. Okay. Then substitute this lambda VDS here and you will get in this form. So this is the new current equation where the excess term comes, that is 1 plus lambda VDS. So if in the graph we goes like VDS and ID graph, if we plot, so till here it was a constant current, but now this ID has a linear function of VDS. If you see, it is a function of VDS with some value, some constant value. So instead of getting a straight line, a slope will be there, a very small magnitude. This slope is nothing but this constant value. So this is called your channel length modulation. Though in the digital it does not play a vital role, but for the analog designs it plays a major role in estimating the current values. Okay. So this was your MOS IV characteristic.